Now, the robbers are dressed as policemen. Is that what I infer here?
Policemen with masks on.
How many were in the room with you?
Two.
Just the two?
But they brought in the concierge from downstairs, handcuffed.
When you think of the glamorous lives of celebrities, kidnapping probably isn't the first thing that comes to mind. But the dark side of fame can be downright terrifying. These stars have faced harrowing experiences that would send shivers down anyone's spine. From shocking abductions to life-threatening situations, it's a wild ride that proves not all that glitters is gold in Hollywood. Get ready to dive into the chilling tales of 8 celebrities who were kidnapped and somehow managed to survive their nightmarish ordeals. With heart-pounding moments and unbelievable escapes, these stories remind us that behind the glitz and glamour, danger can lurk in the shadows. When Kim Kardashian flew to Paris Fashion Week in 2016, she expected the usual excitement, glamorous outfits, posh hotels, and cameras flashing every step of the way. What she didn't expect was one of the scariest nights of her life that left her shaken, stealing headlines around the world and prompting serious security changes for her family. So, picture this. Kim is chilling in her luxury Paris apartment in the early hours, doing what celebs do in the city of love, when suddenly she hears a knock at the door. But it's not room service or a late-night friend. It's 2 men dressed as policemen. Kim, thinking they might be legit, who's really suspicious of police, opens the door, only for her world to be turned upside down. Within seconds, the men force their way in, and Kim, just in a robe, is thrown into a whirlwind of terror. They tie her up with plastic cables, gag her, and cover her eyes, mouth, and legs with duct tape. Just a minute, describing how she thought her life was over. But when the thieves left her tied up and alone, the survival instincts kicked in. She managed to wiggle her way free, scream for help, and alert security. Picture this. It's a regular day in London, and our favorite British actor, Benedict Cumberbatch, the same guy who's played Sherlock Holmes and Doctor Strange, is headed somewhere with his wife, Sophie Hunter. They're just riding along in an Uber, minding their own business, when things take a shocking turn. Out of nowhere, they witness a scene that you'd think only happens in gritty action flicks. There's a delivery cyclist riding ahead of them, and suddenly, a group of 4 men decide they want his belongings, and they're not taking no for an answer. The attackers ambush the poor guy, trying to knock him off his bike. They're shouting, throwing punches, and ready to take anything they can get their hands on. And this is where Benedict, in true superhero fashion, leaps into action. He didn't just sit back and let the drama unfold. Nope. He opened the car door and threw himself right into the fray. Now, can you imagine Doctor Strange, Sherlock, Benedict himself, stepping out to defend a complete stranger? But that's exactly what he did. He charged at the attackers, shouting at them to back off, which clearly stunned them. You have to hand it to him. He's brave. The would-be thieves were startled enough to freeze up. And then, one by one, they decided this was not the day to mess with Benedict Cumberbatch. After Benedict's intervention, the thugs fled the scene, leaving the delivery driver bruised but okay. The Uber driver, who'd witnessed the whole thing, was also pretty shaken, later describing Benedict as an absolute hero. And understandably, the story became a sensation across social media and news outlets alike. As for Benedict, he played it all down like it was no big deal. What Benedict didn't think of is that he was on Uber. Those robbers later traced the Uber driver, forced him to give them the address he picked Doctor Strange from, and they actually planned a kidnapping plan for a big fat ransom. Luckily, they were long arrested before they had the chance to execute it. According to him, he just did what anyone else would have done. But let's be honest, there aren't too many people who jump out of a car to take on 4 guys. His bravery became a story that fans couldn't get enough of. In the end, Benedict proved that sometimes real life is just as dramatic as the movies, and that he's not just a hero on screen, but off screen too. It's no wonder he has such a loyal fan base. How many A-listers would willingly run into a fight to save a stranger? Just another day in the life of Benedict Cumberbatch, making London streets safer, one action scene at a time.
added on to your acting prowess, I was reading up about you and heard you got abducted in Africa.
I did, yeah. I did.
What the hell? What happened, bro?
This wild story takes us back to when Benedict was filming the miniseries To the Ends of the Earth in South Africa. He'd been in the country with some cast and crew, soaking in the scenery and probably enjoying the down-to-earth vibe of a less Hollywoodish setting. But one night, things took a serious, jaw-dropping turn. Benedict, along with his friends and colleagues, was driving down a deserted road at night when out of nowhere, they got a flat tire. It's already the kind of situation you'd be nervous about, right? Alone in the dark on an empty road, stuck fixing a flat. But it got even worse. As they were working on the tire, a group of armed locals approached them, and before they could even react, the men forced them into the back of their own car. Now, if you think getting kidnapped at gunpoint sounds terrifying, you're right. It absolutely was. The men tied them up and took the car, driving them off to a location Benedict and the others didn't recognize. He later described the experience as one of the most terrifying moments of his life, thinking he was done for. He was sitting there, bound and unable to move, unsure if he'd ever see his friends or family again. And the captors? Well, they weren't exactly friendly. At one point, they shoved him so hard he actually thought he'd suffer serious injury. But as fate would have it, their captors eventually let them go. Benedict has spoken about this moment, saying he felt like he got a second lease on life. After being dumped in a remote area, Benedict and his friends made it back to safety. And ever the reflective, philosophical guy, he's since said that the experience taught him to appreciate the little things even more, realizing how fleeting and precious life can be. And once again, this story went on to make headlines, adding yet another incredible, action-packed chapter to Benedict's real-life adventures. You've got to hand it to him. He's a survivor in every sense of the word, and his fans love him all the more for it. Like and subscribe as we will be posting a part 2 for this series. Surprisingly, a lot of celebrities often get kidnapped, and we are here to cover it. Subscribe and stay tuned till next time.